Hello guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're ranking all 9 Stranger Things 4 episodes. I'm pretty excited getting this one. I'm a little exhausted at the same time, but whatever. So yeah, we'll do that. I have my list on the phone. I don't have it up right now, but I'll get it up. So, just some announcements. I did review the Little Metallica single. I did a quick review, so you can go check that out. I have a bunch of Stranger Things videos. Go check those out. Also, a bunch of trailer reactions will be coming on this time. 2 for sure, maybe 3 if I want to. They probably would have come out before this video, honestly, because I don't really have the patience to edit this video at the moment. And then just some new movies there in theaters. So currently there are 2 movies in particular. This movie called The Menu, and then The Fablemans, Knives Out, Glass Onion, whatever it's called. I'm gonna watch it when it comes out on Netflix. I never got the chance to go see it in theaters when it came out for that little week. I will do that soon. Menu and Fablemans, I'm gonna go try to see them before the year ends and out, because I've heard both are really good, and I've been interested to check out both for a little while. Didn't know much about them, but I've heard they're both really good. So yeah, I want to go see those 2 movies. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. All right. Got my list, and let's get rolling. So in last place, it's going to be Chapter 1, The Hellfire Club. The beginning of the season just didn't really excite me. Not much really to talk about, but the Vecna scene at the end of the episode was really good, where he killed Chrissy, and the whole bone-snapping eyes popping back, very new for the show, really to talk about. But the Vecna scene at the end of the episode was really good, where he killed Chrissy, and the whole bone-snapping eyes popping back, very new for the show, and leading into the next episode where Eddie might go on the run. Speaking of Eddie, I love the character throughout the show. He gets even better as the season goes on. He's a little over the top in this episode, but I think he's fun. The whole Dungeons & Dragons Hellfire Club thing is pretty fun for the most part, and I enjoy that whole little plot line. And yeah, I liked all that stuff. I love the whole basketball game scene where Lucas scores the final 3-pointer and whatever, and where he kind of is on a plot line where he wants to be popular. I kind of like the whole storyline. And then the Max thing is pretty interesting, where she's now been depressed because Billy died, and since then she's just not been the same. And the way all that stuff plays out on the Hawkins side of things, I really like. But then you have the California side of things, or Lenora Place, whatever it's called. Lenora Fields, Lenora something, California. I just hated the plotline. Overall, like, the whole thing where Eleven's just getting bullied at school and no one's even there for her just doesn't work. And both her and Will are not happy. Will doesn't even do anything about it. It's just such a frustrating plotline, and it's just not fun to watch. It's just so kind of heartbreaking in many ways. And overall, that stuff of the show, I just didn't enjoy it. Like, forget the fact that I know they're trying to create tension with Eleven. It's just not what I want to see when it comes to this character. So that stuff is kind of just what ruined the episode. But overall, I think kind of one of the better openers. I don't know. These first couple episodes don't do that much for me. At number 8, slightly better, is Vecna's Curse. Now there's a little bit more tension where the kids kind of go in investigation mode. They're figuring out what exactly happened with Eddie and all of that stuff. That stuff I really liked in the episode. You get Hopper back in this one here. You have all the stuff with Nancy and the reporter guy, where they're going out to see what exactly happened and what's going on, and that reporter guy ends up dying. That was a pretty cool, interesting scene. So a lot of that stuff I did really enjoy. And then, kind of like the first episode, you have the California stuff, which I think was even worse than this episode. Well, the other stuff is better, so it's just sort of this thing, I guess. I don't know. Overall, it was even worse there. The Mike comes back, he is Mike, and I find him kind of annoying. So does that, and you have him where he's just with Eleven and kind of ignoring Will. It's just not really fun to watch. And then you have the whole thing with the roller skating rink, which seems like a fun date, but then ruined by Angela. And then they do like the worst thing where they're full on torturing her. And then Eleven gets the redemption moment where she doesn't want to put up with this anymore. She smacks her with the roller skate, and then they play it as Mike says she might be, or Mike's kind of implying that she's a monster. Will's kind of doing the same. And then instead of having this victory, where that's what that should have been. I was sort of feeling that at the first, but then they completely ruined it. And then this is the same character that broke a kid's arm and then made a kid pee his pants. So it's like you had that victory, which I think this could have been even more in ceremony. So I'm glad that plotline got out of the way, because I just hated it. But yeah. But yeah, the Hawkins stuff I really enjoyed. And I think Argyle got introduced. Was it this episode or last episode? I don't know. I find the character pretty fun addition to the show. So overall, this episode, it's a bit better, but Still not great. Coming in number 7 is going to be Chapter 3, The Monster and the Superhero, or whatever it's called. You got the introduction of the Hopper plotline where he's kind of a slave in Russia. I guess I was introduced in the last episode, but it's been more interesting here where you see him working on railroads and whatever. So you have that. Then you have the whole introduction to the thing where he might get broken out or whatever. Yeah, I guess that's technically what happened. And then you have the whole thing where Nancy, Robin, and Steve, they're sort of going to investigate on everything. I don't quite remember what happened with what they were doing. They went to go see Victor in the next episode, so I think they were figuring out exactly what was going on. Was this the episode where they went through the files? I don't even remember. So a lot, episodes 3, 4, and 5, and 6, I'm kind of mixing up events, so just know that. It's been a while since I watched the show, or finished the show. Either way, really enjoy this episode. Bunch of great moments. At the same time, it does still have the problems in the first 2 episodes. The 11 plot line, I still don't love it. This is before things got really interesting. So before the flashbacks started happening, it was just kind of introduction mode, still with the own character. But then you also have the whole soldier plotline where they're going to attack 11 and figuring out what's going on there. So overall, I think this is a good episode. I think it continues some stuff in the first 2. It still has some of the same issues, but things are starting to get a bit more interesting here, and they get really interesting as you move on to the next episode. So I do enjoy this one. I don't really remember that much from it, except I remember the Hopper stuff. I remember the California stuff with 11, and then I also remember all the stuff involving Dustin. And also the lunch mob, which this is before it really started to bug me. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode. Coming in number 6 is going to be Chapter 5, The Nina Project. There's some great things here. I think the introduction to those 11 flashbacks are pretty good. I think the reveal at the beginning of the episode that Brenner's still alive, I think is pretty interesting. I think pretty well done. And then you lead into the flashbacks. This is before they really had interesting, so not much really here that I would say that when it comes to flashbacks are amazing, but it's interesting to see 11's backstory, so that enough I think gets this episode a bit higher. Also, I think the whole sequence where they're in the house and the whole creaking bit, I think that stuff was pretty good. Really, the last 20 minutes of this episode were just great as the tension is building up. The basketball player died from Vecna, and that sparks a bunch of intrigue. You have the whole thing with the funeral scenes in this episode. That was a pretty good scene, I guess. The ending of this episode is just great. And then the Murray and Joyce plot, I didn't really like it that much at first. It's still a little over the top, but it's kind of fun. I enjoy it. But yeah, there's the Hopper plot line where things kind of don't go right. He's in the whole cell throughout this episode and reflecting on what's going on. I thought that all those sequences were great. And then there's a couple issues. As I said, the 11 flashbacks weren't at their most exciting. Second one, the California whole plot line, I think they got shot down. Now they're on the run. They're heading to Susie's house. I don't remember if that's in this episode or next episode. Believe that's next episode. I could be totally wrong. But yeah, either way, I still enjoy it. So yeah, I think this is a really good episode overall. I mean, like the rest of the season, and there's some amazing scenes. But second thing is the lynch mob, and this is really the point where I think it was at its worst, where they're full on assaulting some kid or the band or whatever, and then they're trying to find Eddie, which the way they're doing everything is just not done very well. They could have the lynch mob plotline in general, I just didn't really care for, and this is probably the whole thing at its worst. But anyway, great. I think this is a great episode because I think the good outweighs the bad for sure. Coming in number 5 is gonna be Chapter 6, The Dive. Some great moments here, like the whole bit at the end of the episode where Steve got trapped in the upside down and he's kind of praying for his life, and then they all come in and then see what happens, and the way that leads to the next episode is just fantastic. Great end bit. Also, the Hopper plotline it's the Hopper plotline. I think it's great where he tells them all about the Demogorgon, and as they realize their hope is sort of lost, and it kind of sets up the next episode with the Demogorgon fight, which is a fantastic scene and sequence. So this whole bit I think is fantastic. I loved most of this episode. Couple things to hold back. California plotline where they're in Utah searching for Susie's place, where Argyle's doing weed with the mom there, whoever that was. That was odd, but overall, there's that part didn't really bother me that much. I mean, it was fun, I guess, but and then the problem is the whole lynch mob plot line. It got a little out of hand where Justin's giving the speech and whatever, and convincing the town to go after Eddie Munson. It's just like, is he who runs the city? Who runs the police department? Justin or the sheriff? I mean, they believe him. It's understandable, but they're full on creating a lynch mob, and he doesn't really realize it. But I think the whole thing with the kids plot line where they're going after the Upside Down, I think that whole thing is fantastic. And the whole thing where the kids go back to the parents, I thought that was well done. I think overall this episode was very well handled for the most part. I thought it was a very good episode. I really enjoyed this one, and yeah, I think this is a great setup for the next episode. There's some great bits and also Joyce, Yuri, and Murray traveling throughout Siberia to get to the whole prison place or slavery, whatever you want to call it. Overall, I do really enjoy this episode, but I think there's just a couple things to help back, and I think they're pretty obvious, like the lynch mob. But other than that, I think this episode is fairly great. Coming in number 4 is going to be Chapter 4, Dear Billy. Do I even say it? The Max moment where she is breaking out of Vecna and the music's around her ears and that whole thing happens. Just a fantastic moment. I love it to death. It's just amazing. It's one of my favorite moments in the entire show. And also the right before that where she's talking to Billy, sort of realizing that she might potentially die and all of that. You have the sequence where Hopper escapes or tries to, and it's kind of like a heartbreaking moment once you realize that he gets ratted out by this Yuri guy, yet he was actually going to get paid. So I think that moment was very well handled, where he actually escaped and then he gets captured later and taken to like the cell for the next episode. All that stuff was very well handled. I thought all of it was fantastic. So just a very well handled episode. I thought it was a fantastic episode. I think the whole bit where they go to where's Victor and they're going to the mental hospital or whatever and trying to get information. I thought that whole plot line was a little odd, but for the most part it was well handled. And then the whole thing where they go to the school where to get the key and files or whatever with Chrissy. Some of these, I think, some of these episodes, these middle bunch, 5 through 6, I kind of mixed a bunch of events up. I think I totally just mixed up the episode 3, episode 4 event with the Victor, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, but overall, really enjoyed this episode. It's fantastic. So many amazing moments. Just a very well-handled storyline. In the Joyce plotline and the Murray, I don't love it. I don't really hate it either, but it's all right. And then also you have the kids plotline where from California where their house gets shot down. I don't know if I remember if that was in the beginning of the episode or the beginning of next episode or the end of this one. I don't quite remember, but I think it was at the end of this one. But I could totally be wrong. But either way, I enjoy it, so it doesn't really matter. And that's where this whole thing starts to get interesting. And then they go to Susie's house in episode 6. I believe the house shooting was in this episode or next episode. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Like this episode. I love it. Coming number 3 is going to be Chapter 8, Papa. What a fantastic penultimate episode. This is really where we get off all the stuff where I forget everything. I actually remember a lot of what happened here. You have all the stuff where you have Nancy getting out of the Upside Down where she's with Vecna. Vecna shows what he's trying to do to Hawkins and whatever. And it's all, as that unfolds, that's all really interesting. You also have the Martin Brenner plotline where he is sort of taking El captive and you see their relationship bonding. But I think the way that kind of caps off where he got shot and he ends up dying. But Eleven sort of says he's a part of the family, but she's not going to try to save him because she understands that he's a bad man. She still doesn't like him, but at the same time, he has her most mild respect, sort of. And then the way this episode ends off, I think it just handles everything just very well. You have all the characters that come back from the Upside Down, and now they're getting ready to fight back. Now they're getting ready for the finale. They're ready to know what's coming, and that was just all handled so well. I thought all of that was just amazing. And the only things that I don't quite care for are, again, the lynch mob plotline. It's better here, but like Justin Florent goes up to Nancy and basically kind of threatens her in sort of an interesting way. So yeah, everything with that was just not very well handled with all of that. So a lot of that stuff just doesn't really. It's just frustrating. So, but on the other hand, just I think the California would end up going to rescue 11 and then take her this pizza shop in the next episode. All of that is just fun. I really enjoy this one. It really builds up the Papa and 11 relationship, or the Brenner and 11 relationship, and sets up everything for the finale really well. And it gets ready for the payoff. Didn't they do something with Eddie here? I don't quite remember. I don't know. Either way, really like this one. I think it's a great episode, one of the best ones from the show. But I think there are two I like more. Coming number 2 is going to be Chapter 7, The Massacre at Hawkins' Lab. There's so many amazing moments. Right from the get-go where Steve is getting attacked by those demi-bats, and then we have to attack them off and then go into the woods and escape, essentially. And then he gets bitten up in the process. And then they're trying to escape the Upside Down, and then that leads to there being a bunch of gates wherever Vecna kills someone. There ends up being a gate over there. And then there obviously is one in Eddie's house, so that makes a fun little plotline where they're communicating, and then just a whole gate where fun scene where the rope is kind of there, and then they fall. Yeah, that was pretty fun. But then the real standout here is the thing where you see what happened with this number 1, this Henry character, and then he ends up being Vecna. Wow, that exposition dump. I complain about exposition dumps. A perfect example that just doesn't do it justice as Matrix Reloaded, but I reviewed that. You can go check that out. But here, it's handled so well. Like, there's the moment, so you see Nancy kind of seeing what's actually going on. You see it through Nancy's eyes, sort of, and then you have Henry telling 11 sort of the whole entire story, and then realizing at the end that she's the one that made him Vecna and into what this monster actually is. And then the way it kind of caps off at episode 9 where we realize that he's the one that started everything. So, and then everything was behind him. He was the contributor to the Demigorgon, the Demidogs, the Mind Flayer, the monster in season 3, whatever it's called. Yeah, realizing that he's behind everything is just great. Before that whole moment, it's a pretty fun episode. I really do enjoy it. There's a bunch of really good moments, but the end of the episode just leaves me in shock on realizing what actually happened and what's going on. Just all fantastic stuff. No real issues. I don't even think the Lynchman plot line was present here. So there's just a bunch of great moments. Just a fantastic episode. I don't even think the California plotline's present. You have the Hopper stuff where he takes down the Demogorgon with the spear. That's what I was thinking of. All of those moments were amazing, where you have Joyce and Murray infiltrating the prison and then seeing what's actually going on. Just all of those moments are just amazing. So I just love this episode. And then they escape and then kind of have to go back and you see what happens there. Fantastic episode. But at number 1, I think most people would agree, it's the finale, the 2.5-hour long episode, the piggyback. This is one of those things where, like, I'm like, does it really have to be that long? And then, I mean, no, but at the same time, there's nothing, like, it does everything it needs to. It's like a full-on movie where, like, you have all the setup from all the characters, and then you have all the payoff in the end, and then there's some triumphant moments, and then some not so triumphant moments. There's some downward spirals. There's epic moments. There's amazing moments. Emotional moments. It has everything that you want in a Stranger Things finale. There's a bunch of amazing sequences, specifically like the scene where Vecna reveals that he was behind everything, the Mind Flayer, everything. So you see what actually is going on, and it's just so well handled. There's only 2 things that I don't think work. For everything to kind of work together, there has to be some contrivances, specifically like why in that specific moment would Murray burn the light on fire the Demigorgons and then channeling everything else to happen. And okay, but still, it doesn't really matter. I still love this episode. I think everything Master Puppets, the way that was incorporated, maybe a different song could have been used. Like, I could think of some better ones. Holy Where's the Punishment, Doing by Megadeth, Creeping Death by Metallica. But Master Puppets, the way it's used there, I think really works. But I don't know, there could be some better options. I watched a little video on it, and I agree. Overall, fantastic. I think this episode is just amazing. And also the second issue is, I think the actual fight between 11 and Vecna, not the most exciting of things, but really those are just some 2 small things. I really accept that. Then that's an amazing episode. It leaves you off on a cliffhanger, excited for season 5. Really, this whole season is kind of the Infinity War, and then season 5 is kind of going to be, I hope it's going to be the end game. And really, you're going to see it where Infinity War, all of our heroes got kind of broken up, and then they get brought together sort of by something in the end, and then that's going to lead, and then Endgame kind of has our summer heroes together, but you know what I mean. So, fantastic. I think this episode's fantastic. I love it. And I'm going to stop here because I'm going to go on forever. And just so many amazing moments, lighting Vecna on fire, Eddie's sacrifice, and I think the most emotional moment is when Justin told Eddie's father the hero he was, and now everyone else. I think that was a pretty emotional moment. So they handled everything very well. I love this episode. It's amazing. It's the best episode of the show, probably, even though it's pretty much a movie. But yeah, share your rating in the comments below. I'm exhausted, but I have to record some trailer reactions, which don't take much more effort. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.